All right. I just find I always open up whenever recordings I'm doing this way. First of all, let's get the basics out of the way. Hello, my 2 subscribers, or 3, or maybe 1, depending on how you found my last episode. Welcome to the Sounds Legit podcast, or show. Apparently, we should say show now, because the designation of podcasting was back in the day, and that's where the name came from. A podcast was an audio recording you did in an iPod back in the day, and that's why it's called a podcast. But I think the name's just stuck now, and I think there's just this weird backlash for national TV shows you see on television. And then, I mean, yeah, you can still watch some of them. I mean, anyways, before I even go there, let's start again. Welcome, my 2 subscribers and you random denizens of the internet, to this Sounds Legit podcast, episode 9. I've yet to denote this episode with a particular title. I usually do that at the end of the episode when I'm in production and I get inspired. All right, this is being recorded on the 15th of May, 2016. How are ya? How you doing? Well, like I was saying earlier, I think, so the whole podcast thing, even though some podcasters are aware that, the name of the podcast was something named for recording audio in an iPod, we still stick to this because I think there is that importance to distinguish between a podcast and a show. Like if you, in the UK, there are some good shows. I don't watch talk shows anymore. I mean, I don't even have a television set, to be honest. But for instance, back when I used to, I think a really good talk show was the Graham Norton one. That was good. I think it was Late Night with Graham Norton, and there was this other chap, I think Ross something. It would interview celebrities or whatnot. But even then, I mean, you could just tell it wasn't organic. It was all just pre-scripted, and I mean, it's fun. I've seen a couple of videos recently on YouTube. One of the funniest ones was Seth MacFarlane, the creators of Family Guy, American Dad, Cleveland Show. He was on and he was just doing multiple voices, which also reminds me, I really should try and watch this movie, A Million Ways to Die in the West, which Seth MacFarlane actually starred in with Cameron Diaz, whom is absolutely gorgeous. But then that was a hilarious movie. Even from the trailers, I was like, oh, I fucking have to watch this. But I kind of missed it out. But anyways, my point being, I like podcasts because, at least the ones I listen to, you get a chance to listen to people actually talk. And that's more real, which I'm trying to do. But I've been very horrible at getting people on my podcast. I was going to get a buddy of mine on Friday, but he backed out last minute, so I'm going to try and get him aboard again. Meanwhile, if you recall Dan from episode 2, he's off to China. He's in China now. Should have arrived there by now. So I have earmarked him to come on the show to tell me what that is about when he comes back. I think he's away for a month, so there should be a lot to talk about after he returns. But anyways, that said, what do we even do today? Oh my god. Oh, I just woke up. Like I said, I prefer to do this in the morning. Otherwise, I can't do it anymore. And I try to, force myself to do this every week. So one of the other reasons why I do a podcast is just I'm thinking of going into stand-up comedy. I talk too fast. I'm trying to pace it up. And my idea is just this is a way to, practice public speaking, which I am quite okay at doing. But in a way, this forces me to be creative, thinking on my feet, and in case when I start doing that, so it comes natural. So even though there's no audience, maybe I should download an app that portrays a virtual audience that reacts to the audio of me talking, and I'll probably get heckled. I'm sure it does exist. But so that's one of the reasons I do it. And the other reason I do it, which I already mentioned, which is aforementioned, was I like conversation. I love it. Whenever I'm in a great conversation, it's magical, man, because you're just making sounds with your mouth, and the other person understands the sound you're making, and they make a sound as well with their mouths. And you both exchanging data and information, and a really fun conversation is just the best. I think that's why the English have pubs, because it's like the primary social platform. where, you can go hang out with your buddies, have a beer, a drink, or whatnot. I personally can't stand it, to be honest. I don't know. Maybe I don't have any friends. No, I do have some friends, but when they say, let's go to the pub, I'm like, nah, I don't know. I'm a bit selfish with my time. I always have stuff to do, so I'm like, I'd rather we go to a bar somewhere, or we go to the person's place where we can all be chill. I don't know why I prefer to go to a bar as opposed to a pub. I mean, the pub's supposed to be more intimate, but I just don't like it. I'd rather go to the person's place where we can just talk shit nonstop. There's something in the pub I'm not really comfortable with. By the time you get there, maybe it's because there's too many people. You can't talk properly and the conversation's a bit. But even now, I'm still not practiced at actually doing something the English do very well, which is to actually talk in loud spaces. I think it's some kind of weird ability you gotta have. I have not developed that skill yet, even after living in this country for more than a decade. But I am getting ahead of myself. I'll tell you something I found interesting, though. I was scrolling through my Netflix stream, not even Netflix, Facebook stream, actually. And I discovered, I think Netflix is bringing back Voltron, Defender of the Universe. Now, what is my generation called? Generation X, I think we're called. If you're a member of I think we're the millennial generation, I think. Hang on, let me check that. Just make sure. See, I'm learning at the same time. Millennial. Can't spell. Millennium generation. Not Falcon. That brings back bad memories. Fucking Star Wars. Millennials. No, that's Generation Y. I think that's me. I think Generation X came afterwards. Yeah. So, yeah, I am a member of Generation Y. Because I was born in the 80s. So anyone born between the 1980s and to the year 2000, Generation Y, and everything after that is Generation X, I presume. Which is a bit ironic, really, because I've always shat on what I presume to be a millennial generation. I was assuming everyone born in the 90s from now, or maybe mid-90s from now, they're just like anyone in below 25, I usually just shit on them, but apparently I shouldn't anymore, because we're all part of the same boat. So yeah. Anyways, what was my point? If you grew up in the 80s and you're a millennial, depending on where you would have grown up, you should have watched a TV show called Voltron. It was amazing. It's so good. I mean, this is childhood shit right now, man. It's like I don't even know the story anymore. It's definitely, I think it was Japanese animated, but let me see. I remember I have the DVD somewhere in my collection. It's essentially, you get this 5 pilots piloting these 5 mechanical robot thingies, a couple of feet tall, I mean, maybe about 20, 30 feet tall. And, yeah, individually, okay, so the plan is you have these 5 main protagonists, with a princess and her chancellor on this planet that these robot lions have to defend from an invading alien space force. And, when the going gets tough, these robots and the lions, they can form into this massive thing called Voltron with a fucking blazing sword of fucking justice. And I've used too many fucks. I give more fucks than I care to give. But the idea is that they would form Voltron and they would kick ass. And I used to watch it back when I grew up in Nigeria, West Africa. If you listen to my podcast, you'd probably know that by now. But anyways. And so Netflix is bringing that back. So I'm like, fuck yeah. Because I enjoyed the original show growing up. And I started thinking about all the shows I grew up. There was this other show called Thunder Sub, where, again, it's science fiction based on this planet somewhere where the planetary differences have been annihilated by this alien race or whatever. So there was just one particular experimental submarine kind of aircraft carrier that escaped, and this thing has the ability to submerge, and so it was just a story following the crew of this Thunder Sub. And I think towards the end, because we never got all the episodes in Nigeria, the sub can literally it started flying and could go into space, and that's when the things were kicking off. But because I don't know, we never got all the episodes back when I was growing up, so they would always reboot it, and eventually you got tired of it. The other one that my mates and I used to like was something called G-Force, which I think in Japan was called Gatchaman. So it's kind of similar to like Voltron-y, but it's about this why am I even talking about this? Well, I'll talk about what I want. It's about this 5 operatives that they wear like this special ninja kind of bird suits and whatever. They have to fight off this. It's always some alien antagonist or something, but no. Now intersperse that with Doctor Who, like the Tom Baker Doctor Who. That was my childhood, man. I think that Doctor Who epoch was probably the most trippy one made, because it was probably made in like the 70s, like the mid-70s, where people were still experimenting with LSD and whatever. It was fucking trippy as fuck. I mean, one of my memories, I don't know, my brain imprinted on me was the Doctor and his assistant being chased across this plain by this massive giant tortoise or tortoise. It's not a turtle, it's a tortoise. How do you even pronounce that? Tortoise. Anyways, and it was so insane. I'm like, who? Even as a kid, I was probably like 7 or 8. Even as a kid, I was like, who thinks of these things, man? That is insane. It's just madness, And the other episodes where you would have these massive kind of insecty things. Like, there was this episode though on the space station, and what's the thing called? What is the thing called? And the time traveling telephone booth. A lot of Doctor Who fans are screaming at me now. Or at least one of my subscribers who's a Doctor Who fan. See, Doctor. It's coming there. Doctor Who. What a phone box. What's the name? What's it called? TARDIS. Jesus Christ. Yeah, the TARDIS. Whoo! Yeah. Yeah, I know. The TARDIS actually manifested in the space station, and then over the course of the series, that particular mini story arc, you discovered that they manifested about 5,000 years into the future, where Earth had been abandoned and probably humans had gone extinct. But in this space station, there was a bunch of humans who had been cryogenically frozen. But over time, the station was kind of attacked by some parasites, and they needed humans to gestate. And then in the end, they would impregnate these humans, and then the human would cocoon up, and then the larva would come out, and then after that, it developed into like a advanced insectoid stage. And the weird thing about these insects were the sheer fact that they were very, very sentient and possessed some kind of psionic ability. So, yeah, no, that was my 80s. That was amazingly awesome. So, like today, I don't know, like what kids are watching. Last time I checked, Phileas Fogg or whatever. Or Peppa Pig or something. I say, oh, what? Okay, fine. Those are Peppa Pig. I think girls watched it. I don't know, man. This stuff kids watched it. I'm like, oh my God, are we overcalling these kids or not? I remember arguing with a colleague 2 jobs ago because she was pregnant, and I think she knew she was getting a boy. And so, to be honest, I was just walking past, and she and the lady folk were talking about pregnancies and children and everything. So I was like, oh yeah, so what are you ladies talking about? And she was saying, oh, blah, 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 I'm going to have a boy and everything. I was like, oh, cool. And I said basically that I think she said something along the lines of, oh, protecting a son from, not watching bad stuff on television and everything. And I was like, yeah, I know, but, he's a boy. And I think I've said this before in the previous podcast. I was like, he's a boy, so why would you prevent him from watching stuff like that? Because he's a boy, and boys are rambunctious. We don't stay still. We like playing rough. We like jumping all over the place. We have fuckloads of energy to do things, And she was like, so I'll never let him watch like action cartoons. And I was referring to, like, when I grew up, I used to watch like Saber Riders, Silverhawks, G.I. Joe, Tom and Jerry, and she was like, no, I'll not let him watch any of those things. And I'm like, but so what is he going to watch? What are you going to have him watch? And she was like, oh, I don't know, I haven't watched like more nice shows and everything. And this was way, way, way before SpongeBob SquarePants. I'm talking about way back in 2007, 2008. So that was weird, and it's the kind of conversation I still have with people today, especially like some of my friends that have kids, and when they have boys, I try to tell them that, listen, especially if I'm talking to the mother, because the fathers usually understand because he's a guy, so he knows what he's like, he knows what his son would like, but the women are always overprotective of their sons, and I always have to tell them, I'm like, listen, you are a woman, right? So you know everything, at least to the best of your abilities, it is to be a woman. So why are you trying to put that on a boy who doesn't share your firmware or operating system or the hardware? It doesn't make any sense, because I would never tell a woman how to raise a girl, because I have no idea, fully grown man, still understand a little about women, I think a bunch of them are fucking nuts, as experienced by the mercenaries I've encountered in my time. But I've met a lot of nice ones. So everyone calm the fuck down, all right? Yeah. I have met some really crazy chicks, though. It's insane. My mom always asks me, it's like, dude, why are you attracting these women? It's like, I don't know. I probably am like tuned into that frequency. Maybe I like that shit, And that's my point being. I remember speaking to this friend of mine. I was like, she has a son. I was like, and he loves playing, I think he's like 4 years old now. And he loves playing Xbox with his dad or PlayStation with his dad. And his dad would let him play like some racing game like Forza. And I mean, granted, that's not even violent, man. That's a racing game. What you do is drive. And she was like, oh, no, you shouldn't play that. I'm like, why not? Why not? It's a racing game. There's no violence here. And she was like, no, but it's a game. And I was like, what do you expect him to do? And yeah, it's just then that's when I told her, I was like, listen, if you had a girl, I wouldn't say anything at all. Let me move the mic back a bit. If you had a girl, I wouldn't say anything to you about raising a girl. But you have a son, so you should probably listen to the father more when he says, okay, this is good for the boy or not, because he's a man. He knows what it is to be a man, and he, as a result, he has more experience being a man. So if you're raising a little man, you should probably defer to him, in terms of raising a boy. That's why fathers are important if you're raising well, I think both sides are important, to be honest, come to think of it. But especially in the case if you're raising a son, a father is important and you should listen to it. I mean, I have this weird feeling I'm going to have daughters. I think that's how nature is going to punish me because I'm such an asshole. Yeah, I can just imagine now. I think that's another theory I have. Every single case where it's something I've been noticing. Really, I've been taking silent notice of. Like when I meet a guy and he's like really manly and he just has testosterone oozing off him, and there's a trail of testosterone behind him, and it's just like a man's man, like really cool guy you want to hang out with and everything. In almost every case, they have daughters. They always have daughters, and it's insane. It's like almost nature saying, "Okay, dude, you need to calm the fuck down. Here's some girls. Now chill the fuck out." Because it's almost like nature's balancing act. Because if such men, and some of those men do exist, if they have boys, that whole knowledge of, what made him that awesome gets transferred to his sons. And then it just rolls out from there. And nature's like, no, you calm down. Just have daughters. Just have daughters, okay? And what usually happens is, because, when you're raising girls, you have to be extra patient because, when they're growing up, you have to be nice to them. And, what ends up with the guy, and I've noticed this, they become more compassionate, they become more calm and not as aggressive. One of my best examples of this is the comedian I listen to, Joe Rogan. Check this guy out. He used to be a Taekwondo enthusiast. He participated in a couple of competitions, and right now the dude works out all the time. He's all buffed out. He commentates for the Ultimate Fighting Championship, which is the UFC, and it's one of the manliest dudes I know. And all he has are daughters. He's had 3 daughters, one from a previous relationship with some lady, and then 2 with his current marriage with his wife. All girls. And in my life, I know a couple of men that I consider to be like really, really manly dudes, and they all have daughters. I remember I was speaking to actually one of my colleagues, actually, because I love this guy. I like him. Him and another one, they're my best case examples. Those are like old school dudes, they build stuff by themselves. They have farms. They do all sorts of crazy shit, And I remember I was speaking to one of them, and I was like, out of the blue, because I was trying to fix his computer, and I was like, wait, you have daughters, right? And it's like, oh, yeah, 2 of them. I was like, that proved my point to the letter. And again, the other guy, I spoke to him about it, and I was like, do you have daughters? He's like, yeah. Okay, fine. It's a bit random to ask that, but I'm a very curious person, and I do ask these questions. So I have this weird feeling I'm going to have daughters. Not that I'm saying that if you have sons that you are not manly or whatever. I mean, I don't know. Jesus Christ, I'm a guy talking to a microphone. Don't listen to me. What do I know of genetics? It's all random. It's supposed to be random. But I do have this underlying hypothesis. And the other one I had for the longest time that I predicted 5 out of 4 cases correctly is I think it is possible to predict a baby's gender from the nasal structure, the structure of the nose. And my theory being that if you look at the baby scan when the mother is with child, and at least in Europe, because I live in the UK, so this is my current study group, the narrower and very straight, and then it's just the shape. If the bridge is very straight and just drops off and there's a sharp drop at the end of it, that's most likely a girl, because it makes no sense for a boy to have such a nose. One of my famous examples is Denise Richards, although I think that's artificial, right? But if you look at Denise Richards, for instance, that kind of nose, that's what I'm talking about. Just, fire up Google, check out, celebrities and whatnot, and check out the nasal structures, the nose. Some men have long noses as well, but towards the end of it, there's a rounded drop, so it doesn't make sense for a girl to have that kind of nose. And I predicted 5 out of 4 cases. I remember one of my other friends, she recently got pregnant, and I made a promise to send me a baby scan when she had one. So I couldn't make much of the first scan early in the pregnancy, but I think she's 6 months now. So she brought me a 3D scan, and I remember looking at she already knew the gender, but she wanted to test me. So she's like, okay, dude, I know the gender already, but I'm going to show you the scan so you can have a look. And I was like, okay, cool. So I looked at the scan, looked at it. I was like, it's a girl. She's like, really? I was like, yeah, it's a girl. And she's like, why? I'm like, yeah, it's a nose. It's exactly the way I predicted it. Her baby's nose was literally, it's quite small, but the bridge was very straight and kind of dropped off. The edge of the end of the nose, or the nose, just dropped up sharply. And I was like, it makes no sense for a boy to have that kind of nostril, for an evolutionary sense, because women are supposed to be attractive, so men, get attracted to them, copulate, nature, boom, everyone has kids. And then she said, yeah, it's a girl. I was like, fuck yes. Another one bites the dust, and another one. But yeah, speaking of which, so I've come to terms that I'm an asshole, most of the time. Okay, I'll just say it anyway. No, it's just, I personally believe that, there are some names you don't give people, especially women. Yeah, see how sexist I am. No, it's just like, one of my friends, her sister recently had a kid. Now, in fairness, okay, let me just go through it. So anyway, her sister had a kid, so she has a niece now, and everything's good. I said, oh, what's the name of your niece? So she gave me the full name. Now, the only thing I picked up out of that whole thing was the middle name. This is a girl the middle name is Hazel. I'm like, okay. And I was being an asshole at the time, and it was the end of the day. I was slightly tired, so I wasn't concentrating enough. And I just basically went off on this 2, 3, 4 minute rant about how Hazel is probably one of the worst names you can ever give a girl. I'm like, thank God it's not a first name. Jesus Christ. I mean, and one of the reasons I said that was because, can you imagine like dating a chick called Hazel? and you guys are fucking, and you know she's like, "Oh, Josh, oh, I don't even know why I said Josh. I don't know, pick a name." And it's like, and you're like, "Oh, Hazel." Oh my god! Oh, there's no way. There's no reality that sounds even the least sensual at all. Say, "Oh, Hazel." And that was my point. You just can't give a go. I mean, you have to give them really nice names. Like, oof. I was looking up traditional English names, and some of them are really good actually. But Jesus Christ, where the fuck did Hazel come from? Hang on, let me see if I can find this website opened up. Let's see. Let's check out some names here from the 18th century. They're looking really good. Zephira, Wilhelmina, okay. Thomasin, Theophila, Theodosia, Tabitha. Tabitha is good. Sylvia is good. Check this out. Keren Hapuk. Who the fuck names the daughter that? But then again, though, in the 18th century, you know, fucking crazy people. I wonder if anyone brushed their teeth back then. I always wondered about that. Whenever I'm watching not a contemporary piece, like a time, how do you call it? Like a timepiece or whatever. Let's go back to the 18th century, and I'm thinking France for some bizarre reason, because those guys were like, what, the stage of civilization. They were all wearing socks, wigs, and whatnot. It's like, imagine it's no one shaved. I think the aristocrats, they shave their face, but I don't think anyone shaved their pubes, so that's disgusting. It's like crabs. And poor sailors, man. You know, you pulled into a port, you banged a couple of prostitutes, and then you went away, and you just have like a legion of crabs on your crotch. Just farming away, just trying to chop your dick off. I mean, that must have been insane. I mean, how those women never got pregnant every single time, it's amazing. Can you imagine that? It's like, how did people brush their teeth? I'm just going to search for that. It's like, wait, how did people brush their teeth? Sorry guys. How did people brush their teeth in the 19th? No, in the 1800s. Yeah. Oh man, the history of cleaning teeth in the past. How did people care for their teeth? I don't know. Did they just history undressed, history of hygiene, bathing, teeth cleaning. I wonder if they just doused it with alcohol non-stop. Fucking disgusting people. Imagine that. The body holder must have been amazingly awesome. Oh man, this is probably something I should have done before I actually started the podcast. But let's see, brushing teeth. The first toothbrush was not patented until 1857. So how did they get the teeth clean? Obviously from accounts in history, of even the wealthiest and most royal of people having brown teeth, and that most people didn't get them all too clean. Those that tried used the following methods. Medieval, rinse them out of water to remove gunk from mouth, rubbing teeth with clean cloth to wipe tartar buildup and leftover food particles from teeth, chewing herbs to freshen breath, mint, cloves, cinnamon, sage, using toothpicks to clean out the teeth, mint and vinegar mixture used to rinse out the mouth, bay leaves soaked in orange flower water and mixed with musk. Barbers would also be used as dentists and would extract teeth that were rotten or bothering a person profusely. They sometimes were able to mark out the junk in teeth and create fillings of salt. In the Elizabethan era, they would rub teeth with ashes of burnt rosemary, powdered sage used to whiten teeth, vinegar, wine, and alum mouthwash. After dinner, comfits were eaten to freshen breath. Oh man! So I think where did I hear this from? Where there was during the Heights, before they started chopping people's heads off, the aristocrats in France. The aristocracy, they were going nuts. They were all so decadent because they were so rich and they could do anything. So people were you would go to all these parties at night, you just drink wine, you just bang people's wives. I mean, no protection, nothing. These guys were 100% commandos, man. Nobody gave a fuck. And there was this castle where because there were no toilets back in this particular castle, and I think it still exists to this day, where people would just go and they would just take a dump. So I think what would happen is, let's say the party is upstairs somewhere, and these guys would literally just go to the edge of the rail. Just, if you're a dude, you pull down your pants, you went over the railing, hold it on tight, and you just shat on the floor. The women, God, that must have been amazing, considering the kind of skirts they wore, all 57 layers of it. You probably need a maid or someone to help you. God, what a awful job. Can you imagine that if you're a maid from a lowly peasant, from the peasantry? I mean, to be honest, if you had a job as a maid in an aristocratic house, you were a step up from the common folk. But then again, part of the job, when the weekend comes up, you're like, oh, fuck, here we go again. Here we go. And then how many people do I have to help shit this time? And that's the only thing you'd be praying for. Maybe I'll just get 4 this time, not about everyone twice. Imagine that. Like some aristocratic lady, she wants to take a dump because she's been eating all night, drinking, non-stop. And you have to help her, maybe in this particular castle, sit over the edge and just take a dump. And you have to help her fold a fucking layers up. And then oh God, they don't even wipe. I mean, do they even wipe? There was no toilet roll. And you could just help her. She's just there. She's just there, and she just starts taking a shit. And you even at that point, you have to pray to whatever God you believe in that, please let it be, at least be solid, because otherwise I can't deal with that dysentery shit right now. I'm talking about shit on my podcast. That's ridiculous. Yeah, and then, I think this actually happened because I think it was a French person that told me this. French castle where people took shits. Let's see. Versailles. I don't know, Versailles. I don't even. You see the thing, French. This is why I don't want to learn French. It's like you can't have a language where it's written in Latin characters. You write something down, but you pronounce it differently than the way it's written. That's insane. So I think it's Versailles or Versailles or something. Fields is blah blah. Outside revolutionary. Paris demonstrated how apparently disgusting Paris was at the time, and how the wretched unsanitary conditions helped spark revolt. No shit. That's what I did there. Later on the episode, I'm reading an article from Reddit. How filthy was Versailles? Why was it allowed to be so? And so some guy, the best comment was like, Versailles was built on and off from around 1664 to 1710, in a time when efficient sewage systems weren't really a common thing. And Versailles was built in a small Versailles. How do you pronounce this? Let me search. How to pronounce? Going all over the place. Hang on, just let me get my facts straight from Wikipedia. How do you pronounce this? Versailles. Yeah. That's the. Yeah, so I think that's the thing. The other pronunciation is Versailles. Yeah. Anyways, going back to the Reddit article, the guy was like, right, and Versailles was built in a small rural village, so it wasn't like there was an already established sewer system that the builders could easily have tapped into. Therefore, it can't be a critical flaw. What they did have in abundance were buckets, chamber pots, fancy chairs with a whole seal. Blah, 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 blah. One key exception to the lack of bathing was Marie Antoinette herself, who was reported to take an excessive amount of baths, even occasionally eating at lunch in there. Oh, Marie Antoinette. Oh, man. Let them eat cake. What a bunch of psychos. White Castle shit. What? No, it's just yeah. I'll have to take the internet's word. I think it was Versailles. I don't know. I might have also just made it up. But yeah, I could imagine, like, just working as a part of the help in such a castle or the aristocratic building, and you're just praying to God that you don't have to deal with so many people shitting all over the place because there are no toilets. I mean, and how the fuck did they even wipe? Ugh. I am glad I was born in modern times, man. Even then, I grew up in West Africa, so that was just on the edge of just barbarism right there. Right, not to shit on, I just did it again, where I grew up. But, kind of grew up from a modest background, didn't have a lot of technologies. Hell, we barely had electricity half the time. So yeah, I have seen some crazy shit. That's a hat trick right there. But no, how did I even get on this point? How did I even get here? I was talking about girls' names being the most horrible name you can give a woman ever. But then again, I started looking up some celebrity names, and I realized how ridiculous some of them are. Let's see. So we had Apollo Bowie Finn, which is David Bowie's kid. We have Apple, that was a really famous one, from that chap from Coldplay, Chris Martin and Gwyneth Paltrow. See, the problem with this is, like, this shows how fucking rich those people are. They are not human beings anymore in every sense of the word. You're so fucking rich, you're going to call your son, in this case, your daughter, Apple. I mean, there's this rapper that called his kid snowfilmon.com Cozart because he was trying to promote his album. And I'm like, why not just call your kid Jessica or something? It's like, okay, what about, like, Northwest from Kanye West? That guy is fucking nuts. He may be good at what he does, but that guy is nuts. So that's the daughter of Kim Kardashian and Kanye West. It's called Northwest. There's another kid called Rainbow Aurora from who did this? I don't even know. Holly Madison of the Girls Next Door is known for the glitz and glamour, and she used the same panache when naming a baby girl in 2003. So this chick called Holly Madison called her daughter Rainbow Aurora. Let's see. What else is crazy? Now, this one I really like. There's Elle Macpherson and Apad Buson, who they named their kid Aurelius. Nice. That is a cool name. So I wouldn't mind that. Aurelius. Aureli was the name of the elite group of families. Aurelius was the male version of the name. And it's also the name of the youngest son of Australian supermodel Elle Macpherson and Apad Buson. Yeah, that's a good one. A really ridiculous name, Sage Moonblood. Now, if you're not Native American, you don't call your kids that. I mean, yeah, you can call your kids anything, I suppose. But, I mean, come on. Sage Moonblood? It's like you're just asking for your kid to get, oh my God, check this out. Poppy Honey, Daisy Boo, and Petal Blossom Rainbow by Jamie Oliver and his wife, Jules, named their daughter as Poppy, Daisy, and Petal. Okay, you can get away with Daisy, okay? Poppy, not so much. Petal, she's gonna get fucking... Well, she's a girl, right? So I don't know how girls bully each other, but I've heard it's fucking, it's just insane. Because at least for guys, if you want to bully a guy, you just punch them in the face or in the tummy or whatever, and be done with it. But chicks, no. It has to be this long, protracted psychological warfare that ends up causing depression and, Jesus Christ, bare borderline suicidal tendencies right there. Fifi, Trixie Belle, Peaches, and Pixie. Isn't that Bob Geldof's kids? Yeah, Fifi, Trixie Belle. Jesus Christ. Destry. Okay. Diesel Kai. Bronx Mogla. And, oh my God, what's wrong with just normal names? Why do I have to use so many fucking ridiculous names? Tallulah, Scout, and Rumor. Tallulah you can run with that. Scout, I see where you're going with that. Rumor, okay. 7 Sirius, Puma Sapti, and Mars Makiba. The fuck, man. I think when you're that rich... Oh, check this out. Spike Lee and Tonya Lee Lewis named their kid Satchel. Okay. What's wrong with normal names? It's almost as if they're saying, listen, Nicolas Cage named his kid Kal-El, which is the first name of the Man of Steel. Okay, I can run with that. See how, biased I am. I have to be biased because some of the names sound absolutely ridiculous. So Frank Zappa called one of his kids Moon Unit, the other one Dweezil, and the third Diva Muffin. Oh my God. I mean, the way I see it, it's almost like see if there's people, well, like I said, they're not human beings anymore as we kind of understand them, because if you're that fucking rich, if you're that filthy fucking rich, you don't give a fuck, man. I don't think any of us, not a lot of us will ever experience that, because we're based in reality where we have to pay taxes, we have to actually worry about how to make our mortgage every month and how to deal with, handling the credit card that's burning a hole through your floor because your wife decided to go crazy on it. Not that men don't do that, but women do it more. It's true. You ladies like shopping for stuff all the time. It's insane. It must be something primal, So, because I think back in the days, the men were the hunters and the women were the gatherers. See what I did there? Before I go off the point entirely, I think if you're that fucking rich, man, everything's free. That's how you know you're rich, where everything is free. Because if you decided to go to the Hamptons somewhere in America, you see a house, it's like, I like this house, I'd buy. That's it. That's fucking rich. There's like the different levels of richness. Okay, there's people like us, we actually live here on planet Earth, and then you have a couple of wealthy people in the upper class and everything. And then when you get there, now you can be rich, you can be what's it? How did they say? It's like I think the epitome of that is something called when you have fuck you money, where you don't even give a shit anymore. That's when everything's free. Then just a tad below than that, you have baller money, which is like a rap denotation where you literally have so much money, you're just balling, son, you're just rolling. You occasionally you have to check your account, make sure your accountant hasn't made off with it. But yeah, and then below that, you have the rich people we can at least see every once in a while going to Waitrose. And I swear to God, I think I've been living in the UK for 10 years and I've only been to Waitrose like twice. The first time I was a student in university. I was living on Holloway Road in London. And I was trying to buy some food. So I just walked in there. I knew there was something wrong because when I walked in there, the air quality was different. It was just cleaner. And I swear to God, I think my immune system benefited just from walking in there. The air was clean. And it's almost as if they were spraying sterile mists that scented really nice. And everything was so clean. I felt dirty instantly. I was like, shit, I shouldn't be here. It was like Spider-Man's spider senses going off, or that primal instinct you have to just not want to be someone. I was like, fuck. Okay. So I didn't want to just walk out because that would, complete whatever peasantry I came from, that whole judging thing. Because, we're all peasants, you and I. And so I decided to take a look. I was walking through there. And I couldn't afford anything. I could buy something. I could buy... At the time, just to get a snack would cost like £8. I'm like, fuck, what if I wanted to buy actual food? So this was I think, maybe 4 months into living in the UK. So I wasn't really aware of all the different types of supermarkets. I just thought, hey, a supermarket is a supermarket. I walked into Waitrose and I was like, I could not buy anything at all. I remember one of the members of staff walked by and she probably saw my descent into hopelessness. She was like, can I help you with anything? I was like, is there anything I can afford? I think I remember saying that, as a joke and everything. She just laughed and walked away. And I walked out of there and never looked back. I was like, fuck you. That is where, the rich people go to shop, not poor students like me. But back then, I really was happy. When I found a supermarket called Safeway, it just had really cheap food. You can go in there with £10 and just get like a basket full of stuff to go home that would sustain you that week. And I was a student, and students, we were poor, we just eat ramen noodles and whatever. We just need calories at that point because we're young. Mitochondria just burns everything we throw at it. so we don't worry about the consequences. I did get a bit pudgy though. And I got anemic because before I came to the UK, we had this, you guys had this whole mad cow disease, because a bunch of crazy people, well, they're not crazy, but they thought they would cut corners by grinding up cows and feeding them to other cows. Yeah, nature doesn't like that shit, man, which I think is one of the reasons why cannibalism in humans, it's reduced as well, because whenever anyone's done it, they've literally gone insane. There's something about the brain not liking other brain materials in the brain, and that causes some kind of weird synaptic firings, which of course would make sense. Okay, I never even noticed that before. I was just looking at this wallpaper my computer cycled in, and I've had this picture for years, and I just noticed something different about it today. Brilliant. Oh well. Yeah. So I remember eating lots of chicken and fish back then, so I went anemic, and I think I'm anemic actually. I'm predisposed to be anemic. So now I eat mostly iron-rich foods like spinach, liver, which people hate. Very cheap. I love it. Offals. Kidneys and livers, I eat them almost every week. Spinach every day, and on occasion I'll supplement iron as well. But yeah, I didn't even get onto that. Yeah, so that was the first time I went to Waitrose. I think the second time I did go to Waitrose, I only bought one item and just walked out. It was too expensive. It also reminded me of the first time I moved to Cambridge. I went to Sainsbury's. I was like, initially I was just like, I just had those shocking, traumatic experiences of being in a Waitrose. I was like, this is ridiculous. I can't eat anything here. But eventually, I got some money. I'm getting paid. I'm getting paper. I'm making bank. I still don't shop out with Sainsbury's though. I go to Asda and Tesco's. Yeah, I go between those two. I only go to Sainsbury's when I want to pick up snacks and whatnot. And even then, it's just too expensive, man. Those are more like for families, for some bizarre reason. I don't know, maybe it's if you take your family to Asda. I think Asda is at the bottom of that totem pole. So you have at the top Waitrose, and then you have Sainsbury's, and I think Sainsbury's and Tesco's. No, Sainsbury's. Definitely Sainsbury's. And then Tesco comes in there. Morrison's shares a position with Asda. Asda is literally near the bottom of the barrel. You're just scraping it off now. But I don't mind. I can afford things. I can go in there and shop. Rather just buy something I can buy for £2.50, would be £4.89 in Waitrose. I'm like, what is this? I mean, did you guys extract this shit from space? It's fucking ridiculous. I think I'm gonna, 50 minutes. What have I been talking about this entire fucking episode? I don't even know. Jesus. I was watching the movie Contact last night because I realized that I'd never actually understood the film. I mean, I understand the premise, the plot, and what eventually happens, but it's been a long time I've seen it. So I decided to watch it again. So I was watching it. This is the Jodie Foster movie where, she is a scientist that's part of the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, and they receive a signal from space, and everyone loses their shit, And I realized that it's one of the few movies, science fiction movies I watched that's actually, in a way, positive. Almost every other movie is just negative, And I started thinking about it the other day. It's like, why can't they just... Well, okay, fine. You can't make a positive science fiction film. No one will watch it because that'll be boring. Nobody wants to ever watch it. There has to be some kind of disaster, danger, fraught nonsense that goes with it. But I think it's just traumatizing people because it's like scaring people to take risks, to go into space. And, I mean, let's face it, we've got to leave this planet at some point, So I was watching this movie on Netflix called Last Day on Mars. And not to spoil the movie, but I'll just say it devolved into... Okay, I'm going to spoil it. Fuck it. Go watch it now. Spoiler alert. You have, 4 seconds to skip ahead. I'm going to be talking about this for another minute or so. So you want to skip here and go forward. Okay, this is 52 minutes in. Going to 55, 56 minutes. So spoiler alerts out of the way. The film eventually just devolved into like bacteria causing space zombies from people getting infected that you can't kill easily. I was like, Jesus Christ, for really? Is that we have to be afraid of that? And in a way, yes, I think so, because life on the Earth, we haven't encountered a lot of life forms that can do that. I mean, there is this fungus, I think it's a fungus, that can infect insects and cause them to commit suicide. So that's a bit scary. So that's the only one we know of. So that's why I think the fiction part, holds true, because you don't know what kind of life form exists on other planets. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, they're probably like space manta rays or sharks in the gas giants of Jupiter. And is this Saturn? That's the next gas giant, or Uranus? They might as well just have life forms in there that just evolved to live in that gas, and they don't fly into space, obviously, because of the vacuum. So who's to say what's possible and what's not? Anyways, but yeah, I remember watching this movie. I was like, oh God, slightly depressing, really, because almost every film is like, oh, don't go into space, it's dangerous, blah. I mean, one of the best ones for that is Gravity, with Sandra Bullock, whom I love, and George Clooney. Yeah, that chap. And that is actually a very, very potentially true scenario. Well, is it potentially true? It is possible. Because I remember watching that movie and was thinking about how, essentially that movie demonstrated something called the Kessler syndrome, which some scientists back in 1974 talked about. And that was a situation where if something as disastrous as an explosion happens in space, that would cause shrapnel to be caught in the Earth's orbit. And because of, this shrapnel following the Earth's spin, this shrapnel can travel for thousands of miles per hour, if not hundreds, causing them to be missiles that you can't stop. So if you decided to fly into that, your spaceship would just get riddled with multiple impacts, which would destroy that, causing even more debris, So the idea is that if that happens, the species will get stuck on the planet for like another 200 years or something, unless we discovered a way to clear out space, the orbit, the lower Earth orbit or the higher Earth orbit. And I think that's already kind of happening, because we have so many satellites now, and it's just a godsend that they're not colliding into each other all the time. Because if something has, and that is the point, that yeah, we can go into space and whatnot, but I mean, even just living, like staying near the Earth's orbit, and we decide to build a space station, and something were to happen, can you imagine that? Having like a terrorist strike on an international space station that, let's say, maybe a couple of decades from now, we build a really massive space station where people go there to do business and live and work, because we're expanding space exploration and whatnot. And then some crazy fucking nutter decides, oh, this is not part of God's plan or something, because it's always about God, isn't it? You don't see like scientists becoming like terrorists saying, oh, we don't agree with your white paper, we're going to start blowing up libraries. You don't see that. It's always some religious shit about God that, as far as I'm concerned, not that I can prove it, but, well, the opposite is also true. I mean, why is this God you're always killing people for and defending? Why can't this God do its own defending? Why do you have to do it for it? Anyways, point is, you get some fucking jihadi nutbag. Though jihadi could be anyone at this point, to be honest. But at the moment, they're fucking crazy, those jihadi people. So in every religion there's extremists. I'll meet you there in the middle ground. So in this case, I call them jihadis because they're the ones they're always pissed off about something, And I like how when they do their jihad warfare or whatever, they utilize technology that science developed, but they're trying to go back in time to live in this kind of weird 14th century religious states. I'm like, okay, dude, you got to make up your mind here, man. What are you doing? Are you part of the 21st century or not? You can't have it both ways. I mean, if you're going to do your jihadist shit, yeah, go back to horseback and use the technology that they used back in the day and see how long that would last. But no, you got to use C4. You got to use modern strategy and tactics, and even crazy tactics by blowing people up with bombs and shit, and then AK-47s and RPGs and whatnot. But you want to go back to a 14th century kind of religious state that literally has brought no progress to the planet for the past God knows how many years, and that's me just touching off on that subject. Probably receiving death threats soon. But no, my point being, you probably have some religious nutcase, blow up him or herself on the station. And can you imagine that? That would be the worst. That would ground us for another 400 years even, And we're running out of resources, so we need to start mining those fucking asteroids. So yeah, that is that is an example of the Kessler syndrome effect. So on that level, I can understand that space exploration, it has to be dangerous. That's like, as they say, it's the final frontier, right? God. Yeah. So I was thinking about how all these movies are so negative, and we should have like more positive sounding movies, but at least now I've just answered my own question. Independence Day told us that if the aliens found us, they'll just nuke the White House first, just to make a point. And I contend that used to be Osama bin Laden's favorite movie, Independence Day. I bet he just replaced the White House being blown up non-stop. He just has it in a loop. Or if he has some kind of techie jihadi guy next to him, the guy probably made a gif out of that. And I think they probably just have that playing on their laptops constantly before they go to bed at night, just saying soon. Watching the White House being blown up by fucking aliens, Oh my God. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to the sequel of Independence Day, actually. Resurgence. They're back. And this time, they're bigger. That dude that makes the trailers for movies, God, that dude must make so much money. Because the original guy died, I think, 3 years ago. So there's another guy that you can tell he's young, but he's nailed it down with the voice modulation. It's like, in a time where the internet was ubiquitous, one man decided to make a stand. And personally, see, I'm jumping all over the place again. Personally, next time I have a cold, I'm going to try and do a podcast, because I recently had a cold, or mild cold anyway, and I was trying to do Kevin Spacey's Frank J. Underwood from House of Cards, and I can't do it now because my voice is not like baritone enough, because I love that it says, "My name is Frank J. Underwood, and I'm running for President of the United States. My wife Claire and I were from Texas, and back in Texas, we literally, I don't know where to go from there. I can't I can't do a voice thing and think at the same time. But yeah, man, negative sci-fi films. So I'm watching Contact. I literally had to stop because my brain, I think, you ever been so tired where you're watching something, you're trying to stay awake, and regardless, even though your willpower has kept your eyes open, your brain just switches off, like emergency shutdown, and then switches it back on 4 minutes later. I think that happened where I was watching Contact, so at 1 o'clock in the morning, and I was getting really tired. I was like, I must finish this movie. And it was another hour, because it's like a 2-hour movie, and I was like, oh, Jesus, I went past the first hour. I was like, must keep watching. And then I noticed while I was watching that I just skipped ahead, because my brain shut down. My brain was like, okay, this guy's not going to stop. We're going to emergency override it. I like how the brain does that, even though, like, because it's like this. It's like being the first officer of the Starship Enterprise or something, where you clearly know the captain's fucking nuts, but you have to follow his orders. But it gets to a point where you just undercut him. Maybe when he just says, "Oh, I'm gonna go take a shit." It's like, okay, you wait for him to get off the bridge, take a shit. All right, everyone, shut it down, shut down the auxiliary support. Let's move light years away from the star. Let's start repairs on the reactors. Everyone, take a break. And when the captain comes back, so wait, what just happened? Nothing, sir. So I think my brain did that because I was so tired, and that's when I knew I had to go to bed anyway. But I was so fucking tired, and I was watching this movie, and my brain's just like, my eyes, I think, at least when I was aware of it, my eyes were open, and then I just realized at some minutes that, wait, this doesn't make any sense, because I'd seen the film before, and they were talking, and all of a sudden it's like dramatic music, there's action scenes happening. I was, wait, okay, now I have to go to bed. So I switched off my laptop and went to bed, and then woke up this morning. I remember reading something about how science fiction genres, I'm at the moment subscribed to a genre called Warhammer 40,000, and this is the most, well, at least from far as I'm concerned, from what I've read, the darkest, grim, just absolutely depressing future of humanity, set 40,000 years in the future, where, awesomely enough, humanity has conquered the majority of the Milky Way galaxy, and we own more than 2 million planets, which is tiny in comparison, but it's scattered across the Imperium, across the galaxy. But if you think about it, 2 million planets under one particular empire, that's insane. And because of that, we are always fighting aliens, we're always fighting demons coming from other dimensions, and we're always fighting civil wars because bits of the empire want to break off all the time, so you always have to quell them. And I remember someone on YouTube saying, okay, here is a breakdown of fans and what they think about these various franchises. If you ask fans, oh, would you want to live in the Star Wars universe? They'll be like, oh yeah, that's amazing, I want to live there. What about Star Trek? It's like, yeah, I could do that, yeah, it's good. What about Warhammer 40,000? Everyone's like, nah, I'm good. Oh my god! And I thought that was very poignant, and that was very funny, because if you are familiar with this franchise, it's one of the most grim depictions and, you know, kind of like visions of what humanity can be like, because it's a future where if you were born there, you're one of untold trillions of humans. Your life has no value at all, and it was one where you are part of this kind of military dictatorship, this autocracy that is stuck technology-wise, that, you know, is not progressing anymore because they don't trust. They've lost so much science that all they can do is maintain the technology they have, and they're afraid of developing new science because they're afraid that whatever they would develop will be corrupted by what they call chaos, which is like a potent force that, you know, just corrupts everything. So this particular, and the majority of the population is like religious and like fanatically religious, and everyone's just crazy, nuts all the time. And at any given point, your system can get involved in a massive war that will see you die because your life has no value. And if you get drafted to join what they call the Imperial Guard, that's it. You get drafted, that's it. You're going to die, and if you don't die, you'll never see your home planet again. So it's just one of the most cruelest and bloody regimes imaginable. But I did like, the thing I liked about that franchise was, you know, how humans, you know, we're the awesome guys here, but we're also the assholes because we're like extremely xenophobic. So we don't do well with alien races, and we just kill them. And mostly it's because for the longest time, in this franchises, in the lore of the franchise, humans first spread to the stars, and we had this federation of the Milky Way galaxy. So we just control the Milky Way galaxy, but all that fractured, and humanity got isolated from each other for 4,000 years after that. So just 4,000 years of just madness where we're being enslaved by aliens, being consumed entirely by these alien races, and, you know, so by the time humanity got back together and started fighting again, we just said, fuck it, you know, we're not going to tolerate aliens anymore, we're just going to kill everything. Which also brings the point. I think was it Richard Dawkins, the guy, the really brilliant mathematician, the guy in the wheelchair, made this prediction about how it would be dangerous for us to encounter a sentient species at this point. Which is partly true, but at the same time, I'm always thinking, okay, what if it's a case of us projecting our insecurities on this particular alien life form? I mean, if they have developed differently to us, and they obviously don't watch Kardashians, you know, and they have a totally different way of looking at life, you know, maybe they'll just be happy to see us. Because if we're probably like the first other sentient species they come across, fine, granted, they probably notice how fucking nuts we are, but maybe they'll be like, just be happy to see us, not just kill us outright. You know, maybe they don't need our resources. Maybe, you know, so there's a lot of maybes there, but I can hardly think that they'll just want to wipe us out instantly. I mean, which sometimes makes me nervous because I'm like, wait, you know, we're always broadcasting signals into space. I mean, we fucking sent a probe showing them where we are. Imagine that you have this massive scouting fleet of this rapacious empire that's just, scouting. All they do is expand and get resources, and then one of the frigates just gets bumped on the windscreen by our probe, and they say, what the fuck is that? And they look it up, they calculate its trajectory, and it's like, hey boss, we found something, and then they just fly into our solar system and see us, and then say, fuck you guys, we're just going to nuke you now. What will we do then, And I always thought about how, I secretly sometimes wish that you would get, aliens just move into the neighborhood, and they say, okay, listen, we know you guys are on Earth, we're not going to fuck with you guys, we come in peace and whatnot, peace signs, but we're going to go to Mars, because we don't see any humans there. You guys haven't colonized it. And so they move into Mars and they terraform Mars. They make it awesome. I mean, within 15 years, they got city skyscrapers and whatnot just being built. And they're shipping more of the population in there because now they found a planet that has a decent orbit around the sun. And there's resources everywhere. There's the asteroid belt. There's the sun that we're still not extracting its resources of. So they just circled around Earth and saying, listen, you guys are cool right there, but we're just gonna harvest your sun for energy, and we're gonna start mining all these asteroids you guys just left here. I mean, these things are resource rich and you guys haven't used it. So we're gonna be doing our own thing over here. So let us know if you wanna have a chat. I wonder how humanity would deal with that, to be honest. And that's one of the important questions I think the movie Contact brought about, because we're always searching for life. So, are we alone? And then we find signs that we're not alone, and everyone loses their shit. Everyone goes mental. Everyone goes nuts. You got religious folk going crazy. So, no, do they believe in God? And I think that was one of the questions they asked the protagonist in Contact. You're asking this scientist that probably discovered sentient intelligent life. And one of the first questions you're going to ask her to ask the aliens, do you believe in God? The fuck? How arrogant are we? I think that's one of the reasons why I personally don't believe in religion as well, because I'm like, imagine the creator of the universe creates the entire universe and then decides to, say, oh yeah, I'll let these people figure it out. Or doesn't even talk to them. What kind of a fucking relationship is that? It's like, that's why I don't buy it. That's why I don't buy the whole religion thing. I think the reason why we went religious on this planet, and they say no, it's a natural thing that happens in the brain does that naturally, is because I think we are like inmates of an insane asylum. That's what I think. It's like when in prison, you have this guy you put in, what's it called? You put him in isolation. Yeah. You know what happens to people when you do that? They go fucking mental. I think that's what's happening with us. We grew up on this planet and we don't see anything close. We haven't encountered other species yet. So we're just constantly screaming out into space while going fucking mental on Earth. So I think that's the problem we have. We don't see any. I'm sure. Going back to my scenario, I'm sure if aliens moved in, said hello, and went to colonize Mars, we would step up our fucking game. I mean, yeah, we'll fucking go mental first because religious people are going to go nuts, but a lot of people are like, okay, listen, now we know we're not alone anymore. That competitive thing, humans would just spring up saying, we're like, it won't even be America, fuck yeah. It's like, Terra, fuck yeah. We're going to show this aliens, motherfucking way. Yes, Terra, fuck yeah. Freedom is the only way. I personally believe we would step up our game. I think we would do that if we had competition, because we're very competitive. I think that's what we need. And then I think we need two things. We need that confirmation that we're not alone. And we need we then afterwards, when we see that we're not alone, we need to compete. It's like what guys do all the time. When we come back in the day, we'll probably still do it. We secretly think about when we meet people. Say, yeah, I bet my dick's bigger than his dick or something. It's just something I think we need. Because if that hasn't happened yet, if that doesn't happen, we're going to be lazy. People are going to keep going crazy in this lunatic asylum we call planet Earth. Yeah, that's my point. Seeing that this is my new record, I've gone an hour plus 13 minutes. Oh, yeah, I have some more stuff I want to talk about, but I think I'm going to save that for episode 10. But yeah, this has been fun. It's been a fun episode, getting there. I keep saying that I'm going to try and get people on, but I get lazy because I have to actually live my life, and at the same time, I make XCOM 2 playthroughs. So if you like video games, I've decided to try and finish XCOM 2, at least the vanilla version, seeing now there's downloadable content for it. I've decided to, I'm making an XCOM 2 playthrough. And I was also making an anime music video, but I've just stopped now because I think I don't have time anymore. So between that, keeping fit because I exercise and I wanted to talk about that, and working, and then feeding myself, and then logistics and everything, I just barely have time for anything else. So, yeah, I don't even know what I was saying. How did I figure that point? And I hate this. My mind just blanks out. But yeah, so I will catch you guys in episode 10. Let's see, how do we stop this? Yeah. So I'll catch you guys in episode 10. I talk about some more stuff, and who knows, I might have more things to talk about when we get there. But yeah, I hope you like this particular show or podcast episode. I'll think of a name for it. But yeah, anyways, I'll catch you guys next week. Hope you have a nice end of this weekend, or whenever you decide to listen to this, or great start of the week. And I'll see you next time. This is a Sounds Legit podcast, episode 9. Signing off. And I know that sounds very douchey. But yeah, I'll catch you guys later, man. Take it easy. Bye.